Hey guys, it's Mike, Rosie Rosenblum, and guess what? I'm super excited. I just got my RWD TXR fairing back from Carrillo's Auto Body. Paint looks amazing. Got it on there. And guess what? This whole video is going to show you how to put this fairing on the best way. The first time I did it, it honestly took me a couple of hours, maybe a little more. We did this whole video, including installing, doing everything on here in less than 40 minutes. It's awesome. Everything works perfectly. I'm going to be changing out the headlight color here now. With the gold looked pretty cool before on the black, but on the silver it looks weird, so that's going to be blacked out sometime soon. And on the video here, we have Zeke, the original Zeke. He's doing the video for us this time, and so you can actually... Okay, no, I'm getting out of that picture now. They don't want to look at me. This is the RWD fairing, and you guys are going to be super excited how easy this actually is to install once I figured it out. And just in case you want to hear the sound of love, here it is. That's right, guys. 114 cubic inches of American power. I'm going to show you a couple of things that you're going to need to put this together. And the exciting piece of this is the first thing you're looking at. This is the factory speed screen. This guy right here. You can take a look at the size of it. You've seen them before. They're in the black or silver on a Lowrider S. This is my new fairing, freshly painted from Carrillo's Auto Body down in La Mesa, California. Thank you very much, guys. It looks amazing. Look at the size difference between these two. Look at the wind protection. By the way, this doesn't have the windscreen on it, and it's still got to be at least 4 or 5 times the size. Over here, we have all the nuts and bolts. Okay, these are all the things that I had to take off to take this piece apart, and we're going to show you how to put it all back together today. Here are the clamps that go on the fork tubes. You can see how nicely they're made and how nice they're finished. They go really well. They blend right into the bike. I was thinking about doing something with making these black anodized, and I figured I'd leave it alone. It kind of looks cool with the differentiation. This is a Dyna headlight shell on the block that's provided with the RWD TXR fairing. So this is the headlight shell with the original headlight in there. And to make this work for this fairing, you have to have a Dyna headlight shell that you cut out so you can fit the factory plug in there. I know it's ugly. Please, once again, no comments. But that's what you have to do to your headlight shell, or something to that approximation. A couple of tools. You really don't need much. Everything works pretty well. This guy's a, what do we need? A 16... Yeah, it's a 60 millimeter, and you're using a 1/8 and a 9/16 wrench, which is kind of cool because I have the combo there. And here's the screen that I'm going to be putting on for now until I get my new screen from Clearview Shields. That's coming with a lip. It's going to be about an inch taller than this, and it's going to have a recurve to give me a little bit more wind protection. So one of the things that kind of sucks is I'm going to have to adjust this again. So I'm loosening up the headlight block, maybe if I'm strong enough and man enough here. Apparently I'm not strong enough. Let me try this again. There we go. Gotta be manly. Or womanly, I guess. We're not gonna be gender discriminant. The only reason I'm doing that is so I can slide it underneath right there. As soon as I do that, we're gonna tighten it up later on. Maybe I'm gonna slide it in there. There we go. So that is now officially slid in. And next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the bolt in. Make sure you use Loctite, guys. You wanna put something on there that's a thread locker. Harleys vibrate, things come off. Okay, one dab of Loctite. Should be nice and in there. I'm gonna line this up where I think it's gonna go, and I can adjust it later after it's on. I'm putting it on the back hole. There's 2 holes provided. If you take a look right there, I think you got that. So I got 2 holes right there. I'm lining it up on the back hole because it seems to line the most flush with the front of the fairing. So I'm gonna just tighten that guy down. Okay, so now guys, what I've done is I've tightened it down to just a little bit more than snug, just to hold it in place. I'm going to adjust it after I have the actual fairing installed so I can make everything look perfect. Then the next thing I'm going to do is we need to get it flush on here. It's sticking out a little bit high. So I'm going to back that up just a hair, push it out just a hair, and then tighten down this bolt over here. Oops, maybe. To lock this into place. Now you can change this and modify it and play with it after it's on as well, but I'm trying to get a baseline setting for where I want it. I think I'm going to end up making this black now that it looks kind of funky against the silver, but that's for a later episode. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the back side of these, the actual brackets that are going to mount to your forks, we're going to put the back side of these too. Don't forget, Loctite. One dab will do you. Maybe. Now I'm going to repeat this on all 4 of these. Get them started, get it mounted up. but I'm not going to tighten them all the way. And the reason is when you're trying to wedge this in, I'm doing it kind of different than I did the first time, and I think this is gonna work great. I could look really stupid in a minute, but I'm not even gonna use a wrench. I'm just gonna hand tighten them just a little bit so they can move around. All right, guys, now that we've gotten here, we've gotten to this point where these can move around a little bit, and you're gonna see why in a moment. I'm gonna tighten up a little bit more so it kind of holds its position. We had to put on some music. I mean, it is a Harley, so yeah.
Some AC/DC?
AC/DC, oh my God. First of all, he's like 12 years old, I'm just saying. So, I don't know if y'all can see this, so I'm bringing it over by the camera where I think this is centered. So you're gonna have 8 bolts. These are little hex head bolts that need to go in there, and I forgot to grab my hex head, so I'm gonna grab that in a second. These bolts are gonna go through. Is this smack in the middle of the camera? Am I looking there? All right. They're gonna go through here on the back side of the fork, and this is how you're gonna tighten them down. The only problem I had putting this on last time, and I'm sure I'm gonna have this problem again, is getting the very bottom bolt in here because the fairing actually gets in the way. So you have to use an actual Torx, like a long way. You can't use your socket set. You're gonna actually have to have a Torx driver to do it. One of the things that's going to make this a lot easier is you can see this mirror right here. I'm starting to loosen up. Dropping the turn signals off of here is going to make this a lot easier. At some point, probably sooner than later, I'm going to be relocating these guys. So I'm just taking off the bottom bolt that holds your mirror and your turn signal in place. It's just one piece. Comes off super easy. It's just got a washer. I don't know, can you see that? Got a washer and a nut. Put them back on so you don't lose them. That's going to be the last thing. That is going to be the last thing to go back on the bike, other than the windscreen. Okay, so at this point, now that we have these brackets on here, and remember, they're just finger tight. And when I'm talking about these guys that are going on the fork clamps, they're just finger tight, so I can move them around a little bit. And the reason you do that is because the forks themselves, where my finger's pointing, are super tight and they don't budge. And if you tighten these guys down, they don't budge, you may have a problem getting the inside of this flush against the fork tube. When I did this the first time, I put the clamps on first and then tighten these bolts, but I'll tell you right now, and I'm still gonna have to tighten them, but only a half a turn or so to torque them down. This is a major pain in the butt to get these on after the fork tubes, and I'll show you why when we get there. Okay, so all I'm doing here is just gonna wiggle this on. I'm just gonna first of all, I'm gonna grab my little light connector here. I'm gonna put that up so I can get it out of the way, because I know I'm gonna be putting that on in a second. And all I'm doing is just pushing these guys. I don't know if, Z, can you get over here and take a look from this, over my shoulder kind of, or right in here? Can you see right there, right here? You want to see what's going on right there. Okay, so all I'm doing is just lining these up, just kind of wiggling them around a little bit until they kind of pop right in there. Look at that. So now it's actually, if you back up a little bit, you can take a look. It's actually holding itself up right now. If you back up over here, you can kind of see what it's going to look like before I put the windscreen on, which is going to totally change the way because it looks like so much silver right now. That with the dark windscreen is going to break it up and it's going to look really cool. I hope. Anyway, gonna get back to this. So right now, when you put these on here, let me come back around. I want Z, can you shoot right over here? I'm gonna turn this a little bit this way. Okay. So if you take a look where the clamps are actually lining up right now, and you have to kind of get in there. See how they're down, and it's probably about 3/4 of an inch there. For this to line up correctly, in my opinion, where I want it, and you can mount it wherever you want. But for me, I want them all the way flush as high up as possible to give me as much wind protection as possible. So now that it's kind of sitting on here, I'm gonna hook up the light, and then, which is gonna take 2 seconds to just click that thing in there, and then I'm gonna start clamping on the top clamp on each side. As I get them close to being tight, I'm gonna pull up on the fairing, like so, and torque them down. I'm not gonna even worry about the bottom ones yet. I just wanna get the top ones to hold it in place. Okay. Just so you know, I'm trying this for the first time tonight. Yeah, not so good. I would definitely not recommend. I'm a Corona Extra guy. I like a lot of different beers, but yeah, this isn't awesome. I could drink this like water all day. Just saying. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna be doing is putting in these screws on the back of the clamps that right now, nothing is holding this up except basically gravity and a little bit of friction. We're gonna put these things on, put the clamps on, and as I said, as I tighten them up, just before they get super tight, I'm gonna lift up on the fairing and I'm gonna pull and put these in. Don't forget, Loctite on everything. By the way, in case you're wondering why I'm saying Loctite so much, when I put this on the first time, the actual brackets that go into the fairing, I tightened them down, I thought, went for about a 100-mile ride, came home, and I heard a ringing, and I looked down below, and 2 of the bolts were already super loose. Now, I may have been dumb enough not to tighten them, I don't know. We had to put some more Steppenwolf on. That might even be a bit excessive. So, need a little hex head here. I'm gonna grab one of these clamps, put one on, so you guys can see what we're doing here. Just gonna line this thing up, and hopefully the fairing doesn't fall off while I do it. Arr! So as soon as I get one of these on, the fairing is actually being locked on, and there's no way for it to go anywhere, which is kind of cool. Well, I guess if I really torqued it, it would. So we'll do that one on this side. Don't make it super tight yet. Which one of these has Loctite? Oh, this one does. And we'll do number 2. So I'm loosening them up just a hair past snug because I need to do the other side still. And like I said, as soon as these are ready to go, I'm going to push it up and do the other side. So now I'm just going to do the other side, exact same thing. Be back in a moment. Okay, so now we're back, and you're noticing I'm going to pull this side up, and I'm going to pull the other side up at the same time. I don't know if I can do this by myself real well. Maybe. I'll have to do it from the inside. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Now I just got to hold it in place and tighten those down. By the way, you'll notice up to this point, oops, I haven't needed Zeke, which is pretty awesome. So you can do this by yourself. I would recommend a second person if you're, I don't know, not as cool as I am. So I'm tightening down almost to full tightness. I'm just getting them in place right now. Now I'm gonna do the other side. Be gentle when you do this. By the way, you notice my turn signals are flopping around. You don't want to smash up your beautiful tank. So all I'm doing is tightening these just enough to hold it in place because I still have to do the bottom brackets. Okay, they're not super torqued, but they're pretty darn tight on there. I just like to curse a lot. Oh yeah, and we're gonna get to this point. Remember I said earlier that you're not gonna be able to use your socket on one of these? Well, it's gonna be, if you take a look over here, come back on this side, Zeke. You have to get from this angle. If you can see that hole right there, you'll notice the fairing actually gets in the way. And you won't be able to fit this guy in there. Not a problem, because if you have a basic set of hand tools, you will probably have one of these guys sitting around. And that's how you gotta do that last one on the bottom. Which is a little bit more of a challenge, but it works. So all my videos up to now have been done with an iPhone, and Zeke came here with his professional camera. That's the original Zeke, by the way. I just want to make sure I call him out again. And he can't figure out how to get his battery to charge, apparently. So while he's been doing that, I've been putting these little well nuts back in. When you get the fairing from Russ, from RWD, it will come with the well nuts in there. I took them out because I did have the fairing painted. So well nuts are in there now. Take all of 3 seconds. All that's left to do, basically, is put the turns, we're gonna go back over here. We're gonna put the turn signals, bolt those back up in a second, and put the windscreen on there. Only thing required for the windscreen is 5 of these guys are gonna go in to the fairing. So I'm gonna go grab the fairing real quick and a drill because these have a lot of threads on them and I don't feel like sitting there and making you guys watch that. So hang on 1 second. So this is the windscreen that I cut down originally from the 16-inch screen to took off the 4 inches. I'm putting this on now because I'm still waiting for my other recurve windscreen. But basically this just kind of pushes on there, and it'll actually kind of lock into place, so it's kind of weird. And all you gotta do is just tighten some screws and put them in there, and the fairing is on. So I set this, by the way, on the lowest setting. I'm gonna use a drill just because these take forever to get in with a little tiny hex head. So once I get one of them in there, and it's a little low. I just gotta get one started. Now, any backyard mechanic, any shade tree mechanic's gonna know that you never tighten everything down. Especially if you're putting in something like this where it's gonna be moving around. Okay guys, so last thing I'm doing here is just putting these mirrors on that hold the turn signals up, and that's pretty much it, which is pretty cool. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna need to do here, guys, is just tighten down these bolts that I remember I left them loose earlier. I do have Loctite on them, so they will get nice and snug when you put them in. There's one there, and there's one at the very bottom. I don't know if you all can see it. That's on both sides, and that's it. The fairing will be on. It should be super secure. Make sure you snug these down. By the way, these bolts right here that I'm pointing at, I don't know how well you can see them, are the ones that came loose when I was on my ride. Hey guys, that's it. It's installed. It looks beautiful. I want to thank Russ over at RWD. I want to thank Hector and Tony from Carrillo's Auto Body for giving me an amazing paint job. I definitely want to thank Zeke over here from the original Zeke for filming this and spending some time and drinking some beer. Guys, there's some mods that are showing up on the screen that are coming up soon, and I promise to get you some videos of those. None of them are major installs, but they should be fun. Thanks again. Look forward to seeing you soon.